Hey guys, Jay-Sensei here again. This is going to be What If Takemichi Was Takemura. In this one, this is basically going to be covering Takemichi as, it's kind of self-explanatory in the title. Story basically begins, actually, no, we'll just get when we go before the story even begins, to how Takemichi is altered. Michi is altered to be older, about 2 years older. So, 15, he's going to be 17. Basically, the same age as Draken. And then same thing for height as Takemura and Draken are the same height, but the difference is Takemura can beat Draken with one hand. And not even moving, really. But, Takemichi would basically be, I'd say in his childhood, he'd be very similar to Takemura, being that he would have a rich family. The thing is, Takemichi wasn't really one who showed any interest in the family business. He had various cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, brother, sister. People always had a different interest than he did. His interest was athletics, their interest was academics. So with this, eventually, by the time he's about 17, so in 2000, and I think Tokyo Revengers is 2006, I want to say? 2005. So, 2005, Takemichi's family would basically abandon him in Tokyo. And they would go abroad, expand their businesses, occasionally sending Takemichi money to, rent a small apartment. And Takemichi would decide to use that money to basically enroll in classes for boxing, as his parents usually never let him do it. But after that, you guys are wondering how he paid rent, he basically beat up delinquents. And he'd shake them down for their money. It was delinquents varying from basically different gangs across Japan. Mobius, Valhalla, Tomon, Black Dragon. He doesn't really know the significance of what he's doing, but he's shaking them down for some good cash. And to the point where he even fought a few prominent members of Takemichi gang, including characters like Kiyomasa, Pachin, Peion, Baji, Draken. He's fought them all just for money, and that's before they die or before they disappear. In the future, by the time he's about 28, he's basically, it's 2017, he's a boxing champion. Champion of the world, etc. But he had basically seen a news report while he was, in a locker room after a match, saying that his ex Hinata had died, or Hina had died. And he's like, oh, that's a shame. As he remembers, in his childhood, the only thing that brought him joy was boxing and Hina. He felt bad, so that she tried to look at her family, send them money, but he couldn't find them. And he realized even her brother was dead and her parents had died a long time ago of old age, which made him feel bad. So he took it upon himself to try to host their funeral. So on his way to make funeral arrangements after his match, he's taking a train to a random area. He's pushed in front of the tracks. With his reaction, he's able to turn around and see who did it, clearly seeing someone familiar. He can place their name, but he can place their face. And then we get to Takemichi going back to the past. Takemichi would wake up on a bus in 2005. Not a bus, on a train in 2005. He looks in the window, seeing his hair is black, his build still as big as usual, but nowhere near as muscular. There's definitely some definition in his body, a little bit of, some muscle growth, definitely above average, but not as huge as he is later in life. Takemichi has all of the same stats as I was about to say Takemichi again. I had to make sure I had to catch myself, so I couldn't say it out loud. I had to wait a sec. He has the same proportions as Takemura, just his hair is a lot more shaggy instead of being in pompadour. Pretty sure it's a pompadour. But Takemichi's only thing different between him and Takemura is a bit of their background and his appearance overall. More pale, less hair, etc., or less stylish hair. He looks around the train, and she would see people around him. Akun, Yamagishi, Yamamoto, and Suzuki. Yamagishi's the one with the glasses, we all know Akun. Yamamoto is the other kind of fodder, frail blonde guy. Suzuki's the tall guy with black hair. Now he remembered them. They weren't really his friends, they're more like just lackeys who took him to lunch from time to time, or he took them to lunch. They're basically his only friends, kind of. Basically, they'd find goons from to shake down and take money from, or they'd shake down goons and give him money. Well, they take a little bit of it. They take like 40%. He takes a 60. But pause real quick. All right, sorry about that. So eventually, Takemichi does end up like looking around, realizing what they're doing, etc. Then he started realizing like everything about his life. Like once, like after this day, he kind of realized they aren't really as close to him as before. Like they still took down and give him a bit of money, but not nearly as much money. It should have irritated him a little bit, but he didn't really care too much. He had Hina. So this, hey, what are you planning for today? Oh, when you go to Shibuya Middle School or Shibuya High School, Shibuya Middle School, shake down second year, take some money, give it to you. And he's like, oh, I have no plans. I can just go with you guys. As usually, if he didn't have anything to do, he'd go practice boxing. But Takemichi already knows he doesn't need to practice boxing. He's the world champ in the future. This actually does surprise them that he's actually going with them. Like Aku and all them are very surprised. At the middle school, they're met by third years. Takemichi is only 17, so he's a high schooler. I'm pretty sure Draken is actually 16. Hold up. Never mind, he's 15. But Takemichi being 17 in this universe makes more sense because Takemura is like 30 years older than him. So, yeah. I can make him 30 years older, but that wouldn't make sense. It would just make sense for him to be older than the rest of the cast, but still like a school student. Now, when Kiyomasa and his friends / lackeys see Takemichi just realized one of the guys there is his cousin. He never thought about it because he doesn't really care. He can't. That they live away from him, live abroad. He realized one of the guys is his cousin. He's like, hey, you go away. He's the one to point at his cousin. Now, his cousin's name is Masaru. This is a random fact. And Masaru's like, Takemichi, and he just ran off immediately. Kiyomasa's like, where are you going? He's like, I'm not fighting him. And just kept running. As Takemichi's family's aware, he's good at athletics, they just don't care. His cousin's aware, he's a great boxer. Takemichi's entire family is aware, he is a freakish athlete. He is a freak of nature. They just frankly do not care about it, so they leave him alone. Kiyomasa would approach Takemichi, asking him, oh, how old are you to be mooching on middle schoolers? He doesn't even answer, and Kiyomasa just fakes a right hook, clean to the chin. Kiyomasa fell over, and his jaw obviously broken. There's blood, his teeth are out, and his jaw does not look right at all. It's disgusting to his friends. But, eventually he does move on to, it moves on to basically the rest of Kiyomasa's lackey trying to charge Takemichi, but he basically beats them all with, like, basically one hand, and he just literally just sidestep, liver punch, sidestep, chest punch. Not even like, he's just saying the attacks, and they're just too slow to block. He's only wasting to hit them, they just can't react fast enough to block. So he's done. Takemichi's friends were just pretty surprised. Like, we knew you were strong, but those were 30 years. So he's like, yeah, they're 15. I'm damn near 20. I don't know what you're expecting from me, or from them to do to me. I'm damn near legal adult. He just shrugged. But later he goes on to go see Hina, and he does realize how she's the only person that really mattered to him. He had friend with Akuna and them. They're kind of established friends now, but he realized the only friends in the future are his coach, and that is it. This is Takemichi, who's a Takemura without anyone but the coach. That is it. No Ippo, no one. Just his coach. That is all he has in his life. Takemichi started realizing, if I'm truly in the past, then I need to make sure my life isn't as miserable as it was last time. I never realized it because I had money, I had everything. I have money, but I'm trying to realize, I have nothing going for me. Pause real quick. So Takemichi, he does have a bit of Takemura's, overall emotional intelligence. Takemura's a pretty insightful guy, but it's kind of just, he has his moments where he's not, moments where he is. It varies. But overall, he does have a lot of Takemura's insightfulness. But I also kind of see that, I kind of see Takemura being weird if he were to be back in his 16-year-old self, knowing how old he is. Also, him still having some restraint, and I can see Takemichi doing that. So I can see him still hitting on Hina, putting odd moves on her, but still he knows better than to engage in adult affairs because he is a 30-year-old man in a 17-year-old's body. Also have to age up Kino, by the way. I think that's a given. He is 17. In this version, she is 14. She is aged up to be his age. I want to clarify that. I have that in a note right here. I tried to clarify that. But, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's the same age as Takemichi, if not a little bit younger. So I'd go like, maybe she's like 16, he's 17. But yeah. And then that would probably make Naoto a little bit older, probably same age as Kanako Takemichi, just whole different school though. Oshima probably same school as Akun and all them, just he's in a whole different kind of club, so he doesn't really see him around. Or he wouldn't have. He's in high school. I have to make my notes more clear. But yeah, so later Takemichi's leaving, and Naoto sees him, saying, and Naoto's like, Naoto's being bullied by a few random guys. But Takemichi really just punched them both in the back of the head like the random kids, and told them both, get on their way. And I want to point out a big difference for Takemichi in this one. Kanako Takemichi, 5'5", 120 pounds. This Takemichi, about 6'1", and about 190-ish pounds. And that is 10 pounds off of Kanako Takemura. And people say, like using estimates, Takemura's natural weight is 200 pounds. That's not counting him moving up weight classes. So yeah, Takemichi's natural weight, his natural build is already comparable to like Taiju. Taiju just has height, but Takemichi has muscle. But yeah. Later, Naoto thanks him, they talk. Takemichi tells him, I was like, that's not like, what school do you go to? And I was like, I go to so-and-so's middle school. Takemichi said, oh, I have friends there, Akun, Namigishi, Naoto, etc. Here's my number, hang out with them, they'll get you out of the way of those guys from now on. Takemichi would shake Naoto's hand to leave, because, just respect what to do, and he would get sent back in time. Where he wakes up, and him and Naoto would basically just talk, as they kind of realize, what's going on. And in the timeline, I was like, oh yeah, you were pushed in front of the train, I saved you. And I was talking, she's like, yeah, I know who did it. I reacted fast enough to see them, but I couldn't catch my footing. I was already kind of over the edge. I was like, oh, who did it? He's like, Akun's the one who pushed me. And that actually does surprise Naoto, as in this one, despite Naoto being a cop and Akun being part of Tomon, they still have like contact on social media. Like, they'll send each other occasionally, like, oh, happy birthday, Merry Christmas, shit like that. Same for Migishi, Yamamoto, and Suzuki. They're not friends, but they'll send each other holiday messages, kind of tradition, so they're still in contact. Well, Akun would never hang out with Naoto because one's a cop and one's a criminal. But yeah. That's when Takemichi being a bit more emotionally intelligent and more emotionally in tune. Plus, I can see Takemichi telling his coach, his coach is his only friend. He needs someone to rely on aside from a kid he met. In his mind, a kid he met a day ago. So yeah, he tells Naoto that, and I was like, alright, that makes sense, I'll fill in your coach, etc. So with this, Takemichi, on his own, was like, I can see how to do it, why can't I do this my way? And his coach would really punch him in the face, say, alright, do it this way. And Takemichi's like, alright, got it, good, clear, done. Takemichi being smarter, more emotionally intelligent, knowing how to think with just the head on his shoulders, etc., he's able to basically, he learned more and retained more. So, pause. Sorry, I thought someone knocked on my door. Takemichi would be able to retain everything. To the point where he retains everything up until the beginning of the Valhalla arc. He knows what to do from there on out. And she simply tells his coach that before he goes, he's like, so simply, I might retire till I'm fully done with this nonsense. And with this, Takemichi says, make up an injury, saying that my hand got badly hurt training, and I'm done until I think I'm ready to come back. And his coach can do that, so, yeah. And she does tell his coach also, because you have time, not to give him notes, see if he can break it down in terms for me that isn't comp terms. I'll just do the thumbs up, and then Takemichi and him shake hands. Now, he goes back to the past, and he returns in the middle of a fight between all of Kiyomasa's lackeys across various middle schools. And it's about 50 people. Thing is, do you think Takemura can handle 50 middle schoolers? If you say no, you're dumb. Alright. Takemichi can lay all of them out without really much effort. Only one comparable in size is Kiyomasa, and even then Takemichi is built like a fucking truck. So, yeah, he pretty just clearly lays out everyone in his way with really no effort whatsoever. Last one left is basically just Kiyomasa trying to use a baseball bat, and he smacked Takemichi across the head with it. Takemichi literally just looked at him, smiled, and then gave him basically a punch he would use to defeat a bear. And he would slam it right into, the solar plexus of Kiyomasa. Kiyomasa would basically throw up blood, and he hits the ground slumped over. And people were watching this. Takemichi was not the aggressor, clearly. When cops arrive, Takemichi just kind of pulls he found his family name, pulls some cash, and he's out. In a matter of 30 minutes. From family name, some cash, he's done. As it is the police station, though, he is met by Tomon as, I guarantee, more than just the 5 people from Kiyomasa's clique we know of. I guarantee more of those lackeys that were at the whole arena thing were part of Tomon. Also, Kiyomasa is in the hospital. He threw up blood from one punch from a man. He's in the hospital for a while. And it's Pachin, Payon, Mikey, and Dragon. Watching this Takemichi's face, demanding to know, were you the one who put Kiyomasa in the hospital? He's like, who the fuck's Kiyomasa? And it clicked that they don't even know, Takemichi doesn't even know their names. He's hitting people because they hit him back. Because they hit him first, or they want to hit him first. But it's Mikey saying, who's the child? Draken walks at Takemichi, going to kick him in the stomach, and the kick lands, and Takemichi is utterly just unfazed. When Draken pulls his foot back, his foot is grabbed, he's pulled, and he gets the same bear punch to the ribs. But Mikey would jump in, taking the punch for Draken, but kind of blocking it. But then Draken still gets sent flying into the street. Mikey's arms are shaking and just realizes his arm might be broken, and he says that out loud, my arm is, I think it's broken. Draken will touch it, kind of feeling to make sure it's not broken, but he's definitely going to have a lot of bruising. Watching him pay on towards Takemichi, and he lets them both land a few hits. He's like, alright, you guys hit hard, but not hard enough. And proceeds to basically just body them both within just 2 hits each. Now, Mikey Dragon asks Takemichi, what's your name? He's like, Hanagaki, or not Hanagaki, but, should it be Takemura as, his last name, like Takemichi Takemura, or, and Takemichi is his last name, technically, but I don't care, to be honest. Just, it says still Hanagaki, he's like I'm Hanagaki Takemichi. So, oh yeah, you're that one guy who shakes down people from various gangs, and he's like, that's what I do? I didn't realize they were a gang. I was kind of shake down anyone who looked stupid. As Pachin would think back about a month ago, when he was just walking the street, got punched in the face, and his wallet was missing. That's exactly what happened. Takemichi would see Pachin, and as he's walking, just deck him across the face, take his wallet at the same time, and keep moving. That's what Takemichi just rob people. If he thinks they're stupid and kind of delinquent-ish looking, he'll hit them in the face, and as he hit them in the face, he'll use the other hand to take their wallet and keep it moving. So, yeah. What this actually does make, Mikey actually invite Takemichi to join Tomon, and he actually would think about it, in his own way, saying, or not saying, thinking, should I join them? I don't have interest in joining them. I don't really care if they exist or not. I just don't want Hina to die. I can probably change it from the inside out. These guys aren't too strong. Excuse me. He's like, these guys aren't too strong. I can probably use my power and bulldoze my way to the top until people listen to me. So I can either change them or erase them from the inside. He wants to do that from the outside. But he's going to do it from the inside. It would seem easier in his opinion. So Mikey actually would get up, ask him if he should join Tomon, saying, we can use a powerhouse like you. I think she would just agree, saying, alright, yeah, he'll join Tomon. So, yeah. Eventually, Takemichi would be in the hospital the next day, and he's met by, outside, he's met by Mikey and Draken. Pause. Okay, sorry about that. So outside, Mikey and Draken oh yeah, I didn't realize you were high school. He's like, oh yeah, I am. I don't usually attend. I can just pay them off to let me just stay away and still keep my grades, which does make them laugh a little bit, but. Eventually, they do bring him to the shrine, and that's basically where he would meet the members of Tomon. But they have they have a meeting in a few days. So, a few days passed. Takemichi had passed Kisaki, as he does know, keep Kisaki out of Tomon, or at least make sure he doesn't change it. But he doesn't realize he had passed Kisaki as a kid. He knows what Kisaki looks like as an adult. As a kid, he looked like a delinquent. As an adult, he just looks like a smug asshole. Later, he's at Hina's house, or Hinasa's house, and they eventually watch fireworks. He dresses up with her hand, accidentally grabs Naoto's, and he's in the past, or future again. And he tells Naoto what he plans on doing, how he joined Tomon. But Coach said, Tomon hasn't really affected your time as a boxer. How long do you think you were in it? And Takemichi ends up removing his shirt, and as you see a few dozen scars. Like, a lot of scars. It's like, oh, I the one across my chest from a bear. I don't know where these ones came from. That's what investigate the scars, mainly on Takemichi's back, and they're basically a variety of knife stab wounds and knife slashes, or simply put, just things hitting him really hard and breaking on his back, such as bats. Like, oh yeah, that kind of explains it. As she would point out, a small turn his head, saying he remembers that happening, he let that happen intentionally, because it looks badass, as he would just laugh. That's from when Kimo said hit him over the head with a bat, and it just shattered, and he just gave him the bear punch to the solar plexus. But, if you're realizing that, he's so passionate about boxing that his future always will result in the same thing. Him being a professional boxer and a world champ. No matter what, he will be that. As we then do like a quick deep dive, his affiliation with Tomon ended around the end of the Valhalla arc. Not as they don't call it the Valhalla arc. Like, around the time that this gang Valhalla ended is when you kind of quit being in papers for hitting people in the face. Like, I see. But you talk about, Mobius incident, all that, they go through it, and eventually Takemichi would also, go see Aku. He goes to see Aku, and Aku still does, swan dive off the roof, and Takemichi would feel bad about that, but he was glad he got to become friends with him in the end, instead of the way he was originally in the future, where he had no friends, and, But Takemichi will go back to the past, and he wakes up with Emma on top of him. Emma is 15, so this actually makes it weird for him because he is still 17. But Takemichi pushed Emma off of him to make him know what she was doing. He tells him, you came in here talking big, and I hopped on the opportunity, and then I hopped on you. He's like, I'm 17, this is weird. And he would walk out. Now eventually he meets up at the shrine for the Tomon meeting, and while he was there, he would basically hear about what happened with Pachin's buddy and all that. While he's there, Hina does also hear about what Takemichi did with Emma, and honestly, Hinata is not surprised. Takemichi, just like Takemura in this one, is a big talker. He thinks he's a ladies' man, and in reality, he's not. As an adult, he was a ladies' man because he had a lot of money. That was kind of just it. Hina likes Takemichi because his ladies' man personality is funny to her. Not because he actually is one, she just has a different sense of humor, and it happens to work. So, yeah. And for an entire day, Takemichi would still follow Mike and Draken, the whole thing still happens, but Takemichi's definitely much stealthier. As he used to be delinquent, he knocks out people and runs away with their money. He has to know stealth, or at least evasion. He's able to basically hide from Mike and Draken pretty calmly, and follow them around the entire day. Later, they go to the future, or he goes to the future, and he would talk to Osanai with Naoto, and the coach. The coach would also, recognize Osanai as, okay, you were a boxer as a kid. You weren't, a major one, but your coach, I knew your coach. He talked highly of a few students, you being one of them. So they're able to kind of break down with Osanai, all that, yeah. The time leap once again, Takemichi's in the past, and he tells Akun, follow your dreams, even if it's something stupid like being a hairdresser. And he's with all his friends, they're his lackeys, so, yeah. But he kind of says this randomly, he's like, Akun, follow your dreams even if it's something stupid like being a hairdresser. So he's going to put his hand on Akun's head, ruffle his hair, all that. Now everyone actually is kind of intrigued as he's hanging out with all his lackeys, but also now includes Naoto. Naoto claims his dream is basically to become a cop. Suzuki says, he wants to be Big Shot, and Yamagishi says the same thing. Takuya/Yamamoto just says, I just kind of want to make good money. As Takemichi, his dream, he simply just says, it's a pretty obvious one. As he holds up his fist that's covered in calluses and scars. And they all just know he wants to be the boxing world champ. So eventually there's a meeting with Tomon, and Tomon members like Takemichi, Mikey, Draken, Pacha, and Peion. Takemichi in this one is actually in a division to begin with, and he is probably put in the same division as Kiyomasa was, and that's the third division. So while he's there, he's kind of sitting down, just eating something, and as they talk, Takemichi recommends, like, in boxing, you should study your opponents. Or she's kind of recommended. Why don't you study your opponents? You know they have numbers, and that is it. Like, for example, I know Osanai because he's a boxer. What do you know about him? I was surprised that like Pachi would walk over to him and demand like something like, oh, because he's a boxer, are you trying to have us waste time so you can get their info on us? She's like, no, I'm trying to make sure you don't fucking die in a fight. But right on cue, Osanai would walk in with Mobius, and like actually walk over to Osanai and telling him who he is. And Osanai doesn't know Takemichi. Takemichi's a pretty notorious boxer, even if he's just like a student. He's not anyone who does matches. No, he's just a student. But even then, he's notorious. His right hooks, his left hooks, uppercut, everything he does makes waves because it is a strong version as can be. So Osanai actually been backing down a little bit, like even more so than what he did with Mikey. He just backing away from Takemichi. But he demands Osanai, kind of called off Mobius, back off basically. Osanai tries to say no, I'm still gang boss. I can't do that. And he is met basically with an overhand punch to the face and sent into the ground full force. And that kind of leaves a small crater where Osanai's head is. More Mobius jumping into Takemichi, but pretty quickly he would basically use a series of punches that basically come just like after images of each other and would basically take down a crowd of people all at once. Right hooks, left hooks, uppercuts, jabs, crosses, all that. No one can keep up. He's simply just hitting them too hard. But soon it results in basically the utter defeat of everyone who tries to fight him. Pachi in this one didn't have a chance to stab Osanai, who was already just knocked out and covered in bodies that Takemichi laid out. Mikey, Draken, and Pachin and Payon all jumped in the fight. Pachin was going after Osanai. Payon was trying to make sure Pachin didn't kill anyone. Mikey and Draken were having fun. When the cops arrived, Takemichi literally just held up a wad of cash, told them both my name is it's Takemichi. Here's money. Go away, and they do just that. When Mike and Dragon have a fight, it doesn't happen. There's really no argument because Pachin never gets arrested. For the festival, Takemichi is actually paying for Draken and Emma to go together, and then him and Hina are just there on a date. And this one they do end up actually kissing. Takemichi didn't want to do that, but he doesn't want to decline Hina. But later, Takemichi would get a call from Mitsuya of the second division, and somebody tells Takemichi, Mobius is kind of disarrayed right now, and they're kind of mad at Osa. A few of them split up, a few of them are still together, wanting to get revenge on Tomon. They're going to attack Draken, who's here right now. Takemichi goes to try to warn Draken, and he just finds Kiyomasa and his group. Now, Kiyomasa and his group were here to kill Takemichi, not Draken. When Takemichi finds them, they're not ready at all. They're not prepared whatsoever. Takemichi sees them, he just ends up tearing off his shirt, and somebody tells them he's going to tear them to shreds. They'll be backing a bit slowly, kind of nervous, but immediately he would rush in, and he would basically just do a very quick liver blow to Kiyomasa first, and makes him cough up more blood before hitting the ground unconscious. And he tells anyone, everyone around him, saying, if you want to get hit, just come on, just wave his hand, come here, come on, fight, hands, let's go. People are nervous, and they do charge Takemichi, a few of them with knives. One of them just landed a pretty good slash across Takemichi's chest. But he's like, that's for the bear, you don't get to cut there. And he didn't even use a punch, he just elbowed the guy across the face. That was the end of the fight. So yeah. Now he goes find Draken, seeing Draken beaten and bloodied by, multiple members of Mobius. But Takemichi jump in, blocking a few attacks with pipes with his forearm for Draken. As we still Draken, you're my junior. You sit back. I'm gonna handle this. As everyone sees, kind of an order from Takemichi. His aura is not that of like his usual one. Oh, usual one is threatening, but he's also kind of happy or excited seemingly. This one, his aura is not that of a boxer. It is just that of a fighter, a brawler. And Dragon Watch Takemichi, not even using boxing, is grabbing people, throwing them, elbow strikes, knee strikes, suplexes. Not martial arts at all. It is technically, but there's no good form. It's really just overwhelming power that no one can defend against. He would use a clinch and a knee strike. Someone tries to block it, their arms break blocking his knee strike. By the time Mikey and the rest of Tomon had arrived, everyone here was beaten to a pulp. He's covered in a bit of blood, but most of it wasn't even his. A few of it was mainly just people having daggers, switchblades, Swiss Army knives, or just pipes hitting him in the face. But I think he didn't really look too battered. He didn't really seem to care about how many times people had hit him. Eventually, like, more members of Mobius arrived, that being like Hanma and, just random fodder. But Hanma was surprised to see Takemichi. Takemichi would have been to know who Hanma is, and Hanma tries to, give his name, trying to make light of the situation, and try to fight Takemichi like, they're on good terms. But that, Hanma was like, oh, I'm the current head of Mobius. Before he even blinked, Takemichi would have been in front of him, and basically hit him with just a punch square to the face, and sends him like a full backflip with the punch. He then would grab Hanma, and still being in brawler mode, would grab Hanma by the leg and beat him, or beat people using his body as a baseball bat. By the time he's done, he basically cleared up the entirety of Mobius using Hanma's body. One more cops arrive, and he simply just says he can't buy his way out of that. There's a lot of bodies here. Two run by, grabbing Emma and Draken in one arm, and simply tells everyone, keep running. He even outran a few people who were on like bicycles, motorcycles, etc. He outran a few people like that. So yeah. Takemichi is at the hospital and does get a few stitches, but they're not really too major. Takemichi would go to the boxing gym and he sees his coach, and his coach actually is like, Takemichi, when you're here, you seem different, you seem stronger. It's Takemichi showing off like pro-level boxing skills. His coach actually begins busting out secret techniques. These techniques aren't not really secret, they're more like refined. Techniques that would make anyone fall over and hurl no matter who launched them. Tenno could launch it into a grown man's gut, and the grown man will fall over and hurl because of just where the child's hitting him. Takemichi is learning biology, but more importantly, on the anatomy charts, where to hit people. He already knows liver, kidney, etc. No, he's learning to hit people like every major point in the human body, he is learning about. It's not really a secret. It's not just hidden secret techniques. It's just simply put, techniques to make your enemies fall. Alright, but soon Takemichi would have to go back to the future. In the future, in the present day, actually does have affiliation with Tomon past the Valhalla incident, but it's more the fact that he was mainly just there fighting. Basically, his thing seemed like he was more or less trying to dissolve the gangs. He wasn't trying to fight for Tomon. He was just fighting to get anyone out of his way. But also, he was a much more prominent world champion. In fact, he'd gone up more than just 3 weight classes. He got up to the heaviest of heavyweights to conquer that weight class too. Then drop back down to his high middleweight basically. But he learned that after being at Hina's funeral. Once he visits at Hina's funeral, learns about his boxing career, also all that, Tomon affiliation, etc. He then goes to visit Draken in prison, but he's on death row. And Draken explains how he regrets not stopping that one guy, which Takemichi can already tell is Kisaki. Takemichi's new goal to Naoto is to become the head of Tomon, and also simply just believes Takemichi can do it. So Takemichi is a very bold, charismatic, and strong person. It wouldn't be hard to find people to follow him. In the past, Takemichi's in a bathhouse, and he's with Mikey and Draken. And Pachi and Payon. And while they're there, they talk about how Takemichi got cut a few times and stabbed. And they start getting to Takemichi, from jab Takemichi, they even land on a few of them, some of this. Sorry. A few people. One of the few of them even throw jabs at Takemichi's stitches, which make him wince a little bit, but in response he just slaps him across the face, which almost knocks him out on impact. After 2 slaps, Mikey's just saying he might have a concussion. But they eventually step outside and they're met by Mitsuya, Muto, and Nahoya. Second Division Commander Mitsuya, 4th Division Muto, or no, 4th Division is Nahoya, 5th Division is Muto, or Mucho. And they eventually meet at Musashi Shrine, and they do announce Kasaki joins the gang. Pachin actually yells saying he has an announcement. When some feelings and him and Pachin both agree, they're stepping down from the 3rd Division Captain and Vice Captain seats. And he's confused until Pachin says Takemichi beat majority of Mobius on his own, and he even suggested a strategy to beat them, and we didn't follow it, and that's how Draken got hurt, how I couldn't intervene in a fight that I wanted to start. He's more suited to be a leader than any of us. Now Takemichi assumed he was going to give a position right off the bat, but Mikey says him and Kasaki can fight for it. They both have some advantages. As Kasaki's here wasn't the fact that I was like, oh, I can get Pachin out of prison, it was more the fact that, like, I know a way to make sure that you can rule more gangs in Japan. And Mikey would accept that. Mikey hears this, he would just walk over and would basically give Kasaki the meanest just punch across the face, and basically spiraling down Musashi Shrine. Now Baji would leave at Takemichi trying to beat on him, but no, Baji threw a first punch. Takemichi basically headbutt Baji's fist, Baji's hand recoil, like he recoils himself in general. But then Takemichi grabbed Baji basically by his upper arms, holding him in place, and headbutting him until Mikey told him to stop. But then Baji's face was kind of just leaking blood, and he wasn't even conscious. He was just done. When she let him go, somebody told Mikey, if someone wants him to be the head, he should be the head. He's not going for some argument over nobody. But Baji, by this point, had gotten back up and announced he's leaving, and that kind of interrupted the entire conversation. But eventually later, Mikey tells Takemichi, if you can get Baji to come back to Tomon, 3rd Division's all yours. That is your task to become the 3rd captain. So, yeah. So Pachin, for now, is kind of reinstated as 3rd captain, but Takemichi is basically removed from 3rd Division, so he has no attachment to it until his quest is done. And he's put in actually the 1st Division. Takemichi's friend Yamagishi would break down the gangs at one point. That happens, Takemichi kind of visiting them, just bring them lunch. And Yamagishi would break down the gangs, as Takemichi would ask. The store had arrived to find Takemichi's friends to give up his whereabouts, but he saw Takemichi already there, and she would bring him to the Valhalla base. On the way there, Takemichi would hear about Kazutora's story. Later on, he sees Baji beating on Chifuyu. But Takemichi would walk over, putting his foot in Baji's way. Baji looked up to see who it is, and when he sees Takemichi, he would jump back, putting his hands up, saying he's done. Hanma would see Takemichi, and when he was trying to turn his head, not wanting to look at him. He already knows he'd lose if he even gave him the wrong look. And Kazutora had saw that and made how Baji and Hanma both just looked away immediately and backed down. But Takemichi would grab Chifuyu and basically walk out of the building. But Chifuyu basically tells Takemichi everything he kind of knows. It wasn't what he thinks Baji is doing. And then him and Chifuyu still agree to help each other against Valhalla. And later they do talk to Osanai, like Takemichi and Chifuyu do, to talk to Osanai about Kasaki. But later, Takemichi would go to the future, still, and she would Draken tells him the purpose of Valhalla, which is to basically hand it over to Mikey. Takemichi still learns that Mikey had killed Kazutora prior to Kazutora killing Baji. Takemichi actually decides, if he needs to, he'll kill Kazutora himself. He just needs to make sure Tomon isn't the way that it is now. How everyone is dead, except for Draken, who's going to soon be dead. And business options are now kind of just, beat Mikey and either submission or kill Kazutora. Those are his two options in his head. Because he knows those are the ones he can do definitively. Back in time, Takemichi would give Hina a clover necklace, and this one he doesn't do that. In fact, he would give her something else. As Takemichi in this one, his coach had seen his new body. Takemichi's doing, some tournaments out of when Takemichi isn't in control, he's doing boxing tournaments. He has actually given one of Takemichi's medals. and she will gladly wear it. Because I don't like the clover necklace, to be honest. Later, Takemichi and Shifuyu confront Baji about his goal. He tries to say no, so Takemichi just basically just flinch at him, and Baji would immediately just back down, back up, just jump from what Takemichi did, and then can spill his whole plan because he's scared of Takemichi. He headbutted him into unconsciousness. But Takemichi had an older plan. He simply just told Baji, "I don't want you to kill anyone like Kazutora, but if Kazutora and Mikey begin getting into a fight, pipe to the dome." Immediately, hit him over the head without anything nearby. Get him away from Mikey. Keep them away from each other. And Baji would nod. Later, the war begins, or the war's beginning to start. As they're at the whole junkyard ready to fight, and then Katsura would go to knock out that one, to get him the referee. Katsura goes in to do that. When Takemichi should grab his foot and throw him to the side, telling him, you can hit refs. Better tell the ref, shut up and sit back. We're going to handle this our own way. War begins, and Takemichi's first instinct is immediately Hanma. As we see Mikey and Draken about to attack Kazutora, but Baji stepped in the way, grabbing Mikey and fighting him instead. I'm taking it seriously, obviously going to focus on defense, while Draken fight Kazutora. But Takemichi would be fighting against Hanma, and he's actually pretty easily pushing Hanma back. They've been trying, he's throwing just basic, strong right, and he's sending Hanma flying away. Eventually, Hanma's pressed against a car until he's grabbed by the forearms, and then from the side, he is drop kicked in the face by Shifuyu. Hanma tries to fall over, over Takemichi step on his foot, and then basically give him a pivot blow right into the side. And that would knock out Hanma right then and there without one punch. After that, eventually goes on to Mikey still being captured by Kazutora's goons. Sorry, that's my bad. I handled my desk. But Kazutora's goons still capture Mikey. And this one, when Kazutora goes in to hit Mikey over the head with a pipe, this one, he went for that, he's hit over the head with a brick by Baji. Kazutora falls, so he's holding his head that's bleeding profusely. But Kazutora ends up being kicked down, all the cars, and lands on the ground unconscious. Not dead, but he's knocked out for sure. And Baji tells Mikey, Takemichi convinced him to join their side again. And immediately, once Pachi even heard that himself, he's seen the entire agreement, he's aware of that, he believes yelled, their division, follow Takemichi. And everyone immediately began doing as Takemichi instructed, telling them, telling them, who to fight against and how. By the end of it though, cops had arrived, but by then, Tomon had already left. Valhalla was utterly defeated. But one person was missing. That one person is Kazutora. He isn't arrested. So eventually this lead to Takemichi and kind of just every captain, but Pacha and Paon are kind of just here because why not? But captain, vice captain, plus Pacha and Paon, who even though they're kind of retired right now, not retired, but not in position, end up talking to Kazutora. Kazutora explains how he feels, all that, he's kind of forced to. And once him and Mikey are able to reach understanding, Kazutora decides to turn himself in, but Takemichi would tell him, I want to still need you in the future, so I'd like a small crime so that we can still use you if you get out at some point. Kazutora just nodded, doing something Takemichi said, and doesn't know what to be what small crime could I commit? What he does is he walk down the street, punch a random guy in the face, and then he'll get arrested for that gladly. He doesn't really care that much. So, yeah. Pause real quick. Okay. But this basically end the Valhalla arc. Next up is Black Dragon arc. Takemichi would be in the future, and it basically results in just him finally seeing Hina. And it pretty much goes the exact same way in my opinion. But soon we transfer into the beginning of the, actually I think the whole Hina thing happened a lot earlier on. I just didn't write it down. Thinking she dies in a car crash, it's Aku and all that. But in the past, we can go back to that because that's the only thing I can remember off the top of my head without notes. Takemichi's in the bowling alley with Hina, and he ended up basically just rolling a strike. And thinking he's not even rolling a strike, he literally just throws the ball so hard, but also held up the ground point where no one can tell it's not on the ground, but it's literally just him throwing it at a really low angle, and he's just strong enough to make it glide that far. He's literally just actually throwing strikes. He's not rolling them. Now, this does lead to him meeting Hakai and Yuzuha. Pretty sure that's her name. Hold up. So he meets Yuzuha and Hakai, and as they talk, eventually they end up walking back to their house. And as they walk, Takemichi's basically in a tent out at this point, just kind of showing off. And they should do see that Takemichi's muscles, they're very defined. Hakai would actually ask Takemichi, what do you do? As Hakai's only seen Takemichi fight crowds, not like a fair one-on-one. As a fair one-on-one, Takemichi would definitely bust out boxing. For against Valhalla and against Mobius, that was just brawler Takemichi. He was basically throwing random punches. There's definitely some form in them, but they all kept it up through experience. Only the experienced martial artists could tell Takemichi knew boxing. So then Hakai's like, street fighting doesn't give you that kind of build. What do you do? He's like, oh yeah, I do boxing. I've won a few tournaments. As would not lift up her shirt, but kind of pull the medal out of her shirt and oh yeah, see, this is a medal he gave me. And the guy's like, oh shit, cool, gold, nice. But as they're walking the street, suddenly they're confronted by black dragons. And when Taiju actually would turn and try to shoulder check Takemichi, when she would react in time, actually uppercut Taiju right in the arm, which everyone didn't see a point to. But when Taiju actually jumped back on his arm, it was obvious his arm had been broken by Takemichi. Taiju held his arm, actually wondering how someone could react that fast and hit him that hard in a split second. But when he looked up a bit confused, he's met with Takemichi jumping in the air and kicking him in the face. Takemichi hardly uses his feet, but his legs are strong, so they actually had knocked out Taiju with that one kick. Once Taiju hit the ground, actually shocked everyone in the surrounding area, and somebody just told Hakai, if you don't want to fight here, I don't blame you, but I'm pissed now, so I'm gonna hurt everyone who fights me, or who even just looks at me wrong at this point. And Hakai actually would grab Yuzuha and Hina, walking back into the alleyway, and watch Takemichi completely just body the black dragons by himself. So the arc ends right here. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention one thing. Saki's out of Tomon. Baji came back, so, yeah. But, yeah, Takemichi should have ended the Black Dragon arc right as it started. So there's really no Black Dragon arc at all. So we need to find something to replace the Black Dragon arc. And I think I have the perfect thing to actually replace it. That being Takemichi's lackeys and Hakai. So Takemichi freeing Hakai and Yuzuha from Taiju. I'd probably see Hakai looking up Takemichi as an older brother, as he's the oldest member of Tomon, aside from Mucho. And Mucho's 18, I believe. So not much older than Takemichi. Him being basically Hakai's new older brother figure, he actually would bring Hakai to his boxing gym alongside, Naoto, Akun, Yamagishi, Yamamoto, Suzuki, all of them. And he actually was teaching them boxing himself. His coach is like, I've done nothing else to teach him, so honestly, I'm not surprised that he's doing all this for other people. All Scripture does for him is basically give him conditioning. When it comes to boxing things, there's like techniques or dodging, evading, punching, stuff like striking, stuff like that. Whatever his coach wants to teach him, he already knows. So his coach helps Takemichi and his friends with conditioning, but when it comes to technique, that's where Takemichi would come in, and his friends would be learning from him when it comes to technique. But yeah, pause real quick. But yeah, Takemichi would also basically just ask about how Mikey and Draken know how to fight. Mikey explains his grandfather, Draken explains how just experience. And for this, it's kind of just Takemichi kind of encouraging everyone to train. And Draken here actually enroll with Mikey's grandfather and train under him. Mikey and Bachi don't really, they already learned Mikey's grandfather, they're not really one to train with. They start fighting with each other and training that way. Draken and Mitsuya would train with Mikey's grandfather with each other. But with Takemichi still had that whole flashback where he had, I should think of this later on, but still, I'll cover it later if I need to. We wouldn't go into the whole Emma and Draken thing. So, yeah. Pause real quick, sorry. So, Emma and Draken have their little date sequence. And then it goes on to Takemichi's friends still being beaten up by members of Tenjiku. As they're members of Tomon, but things when their friends are around, like, yeah, we knocked down a few of the guys, but we're tired. I think at this point it could have been like maybe like a month or two since they've been into boxing. But they're definitely like, I would say there's definite audio change. My bad. I had to get my headphones real quick. I can definitely see that there's probably a bit of like changes in his friends in terms of like physique and like technique, definitely, but like their durability has not changed all too much. Their opponents are Takemichi and each other. There's not going to be a very big difference for durability, so they're definitely still going to mow down, but they still took down a few people with them. But soon Takemichi is confronted by members of Mobius and the guy Mochi. Now this one when Shifuyu supposedly saves Takemichi from Mochi. This is when Mochi would arrive. If Takemichi literally just like let's say Shifuyu is about to be punched by Mochi, he actually insert Mochi's punch and punch his fist back. Mochi thinks it's idiotic until he starts realizing Takemichi's punch had broken his hand. Mochi recalls saying that his hand is definitely swollen and a few fingers are not in the right places. He holds his hand, and then he looked down at his hand, he proceeds to basically get uppercutted right in the face by Takemichi, who just says, you can't look away from your opponents. He had knocked Mochi on his ass, and then he's met by, Kaku. So, I would say once it goes down to, like, Kaku and all them, it's honestly not too, important, I guess. Like, I would say looking like angry, smiley, all that, doesn't really matter too much right now. Also, Shifuyu learns the whole time leaping thing. Pause real quick. Alright. We have the whole thing, I would say, between, like, from, like, Takemichi or Shifuyu was supposed to fight Mochi, but Takemichi did instead, so them seeming smiling and angry, and then holding a Kakucho, and then all the way up until Takemichi going back to the past. All that pretty much goes with Takemichi either throwing hands and winning, or him basically being uncontested in terms of just intelligence, power, things like that. He basically kind of clears everything he needs to without really much struggle. In the future, he does meet up with Taiju, all that. And then it goes on to Takemichi also kind of noticing something about, like, Naoto. As Naoto's here as well. He was with him the entire time. The difference with Naoto is that he's kind of just built. As Naoto's very similar in build to Taiju, just minus the height. And Naoto explains how, he kept boxing for like 10 years, 12 years. So he's, in terms of skill, probably pretty close to Takemichi, but Takemichi still has the physicality over Naoto, so Naoto can't really contend with that. But everything that Naoto would use in his arsenal is Takemichi's techniques, or at least a technique that he refined. So it should be a close fight, technically, but if it actually happened, it would not be. Takemichi would kind of just slam him with no difficulty. But, so Takemichi would later learn from Taiju about the Kanto Uprising, until eventually it leads to Koko and Inubi interrupting the meeting with Taiju and Naoto and Takemichi at the restaurant. And when it comes down to Taiju preparing to fight, Takemichi simply just tells Naoto, give him 1 minute. And Taiju's a bit confused. Well, it's like, what do you mean give you 1 minute? He simply just says, even if they have weapons, give me 1 minute. Outside we see Taiju and Naoto in an alleyway, and they cleared out basically most members of the Tomon in the alleyway as well. But Takemichi would walk out with one gunshot wound in the shoulder, but he simply just isn't too fazed by it. And he says, those guys can't fight for shit, they're weak. But she does kind of make Taiju laugh, saying he agrees, but he's not good. He's not good at fighting numbers unlike Takemichi. And he says, Taiju could be if he, trained. But as they go through the alleyway, this actually leads to Naoto still being shot, and then Taiju actually ends up fighting Kaku, who was the shooter. But Izuna would arrive, kill Taiju, and then Takemichi, before him and Naoto both die, they shake hands, and then supposedly end. So yeah. But in this one, instead of Takemichi losing the will to live, well, he just doesn't. So, yeah. So Takemichi isn't impressed with the fact that he is a ball of unbridled rage. The moment he's kind of vowing to murder Izuna and Kisaki, So yeah, we have the whole thing where Emma reveals, like, oh, Izuna's my brother. Izuna just says, well, I'm going to murder Izuna and Kisaki. I am going to hit them so hard that their heads pop like grapes. So, yeah. Eventually we do go on to Takemichi and Inupi Inupi and Koko as well. Like Koko, Inupi, and Takemichi being taken by the 6th Division, which is Muto and Sansu. We will be on to that little thing right there. I think when Muto tried to actually snag Takemichi, Takemichi told Muto, I can tell you want to fight. Because it's blatantly obvious you want to throw hands, so let's do it. Hanzo moves in to punch Takemichi first, only to basically be grabbed and slammed on the ground full force by Takemichi. Muto's like 6'5", so he has the size and like the length advantage. But he's nowhere near as fast, durable, skilled. Muto has one thing on Takemichi, and that is maybe height and weight. Takemichi everything on Muto except for maybe weight, but height is something that Muto has on him, and reach basically. So. Yeah, so Sansu tries to fight Takemichi first, only be picked up by his collar, and slammed on concrete full force. And then when Muto tries to go in for a punch, Takemichi would basically just headbutt Muto's fist, and then punch Muto right in the face, full force, knocking him over his own car. And basically, Takemichi fighting the entirety of the 5th Division. I realized I said there's 6 divisions earlier, I'm dumb. But I don't care at this point. So yeah, but Takemichi has to take on the entirety of the 5th Division by himself. And he wins. It wasn't really a hard fight. He is the strongest member of Tomon without really... He's the strongest member of Tomon at this point without any question. No one can beat him, and he can beat anyone. There's no one at this point in the story who may have surpassed him, aside from maybe original Izuna, and not Izuna, original Shinichiro, as maybe the fact that that man's AP is insane from what we've seen. So, yeah. Pause real quick. Alright, now we go on to the next important thing, being Emma's death. So, at this point, Takemichi and Mikey and Dragon all just met up, they're hanging out, Emma as well, and they're leaving, and eventually it leads to them being confronted by Kisaki and Hanma, and Kisaki goes in to swing a bat at Takemichi, like on a motorcycle. Takemichi in this one, his reaction speed is insane, his durability is insane. Plus, as she knows, he's supposed to protect Emma, so him not being... Well, going on with Takemichi, she jumped in the way of her and hold up one hand, basically backhanding the entire bat, which does actually break his hand, because, yeah. Well, not his hand, but there's definitely, like, a lot of... His hand isn't good right now. It's very much messed up. Not broken, but it should be. Because Lucky was honestly surprised that Takemichi had done that, and they tried to ride her back at Takemichi, like, going to hit him with a motorcycle, like, head on. And when they do that, Takemichi would kick the front wheel of the motorcycle, and send Kisaki and Hanma tumbling. But Takemichi tells Emma, run. He does so, and then he starts Takemichi being jumped by Hanma and Kisaki. And Takemichi's foot is also messed up from what he just did. Now, Emma actually ran back to get Mikey and Draken, and they both arrived to actually help Takemichi mid-fight. As he's still beaten, given Hanma and Kisaki some hands. They're not that strong to him. But it was kind of hard to balance on one foot and one hand. So with that, those two end up being beaten by Mikey and Draken, and Emma is alive, thankfully. But now we move on to the war, where Mikey and Draken are there to begin with. Well, for this one, Takemichi would arrive, and people think he should be sitting out, but he isn't. When someone faces Tenjiku, basically leads to, like Tenjiku saying, "Oh yeah, send up a front runner, and we'll basically just decide who strikes first from there." Now they end up sending up Madarame, and here we see Takemichi with the bandage on his hand, and his foot is obviously messed up. He limps a little bit. Like, you're just an injured guy here? I'll fight him first to show you how ruthless we are. Takemichi would step forward, facing Madarame. Madarame basically gives Takemichi, kind of give him a right hook to the face. Takemichi instead would actually just lean forward and headbutt Madarame in the face full force, knocking him out. You have Madarame somebody telling him, you're the 9th generation leader. Cool. I'm the 11th. I'm the strongest generation of Black Dragons there is. And Takemichi would basically throw Madarame right into the group of Tenjiku, and he would give someone on the edge, they'll kind of just run, kind of trample over Tenjiku, and then kind of crowd the middle. This one, Takemichi doesn't need to be saved by Hakai, but leaves Hakai throwing hands like no other. He is currently showing off he had surpassed the majority of the captains here. Which does surprise Mitsuya. He's like, he never thought Hakai was this powerful. And Hakai is showing off boxing that Takemichi had taught him. Pause real quick. So instead of Paon fighting against Izuna, it's Mikey and Draken. Because Hanma is kind of not out of commission, but he's definitely so weakened to the point where he fought Draken again, he lost pretty quickly. He already got beaten up, he already got hit by Takemichi a few times, which is crippling to recover from. It takes a lot of time to recover from being hit by Takemichi. Mikey's arms are not the same, so good thing he uses his legs more often. But, Hanma lost pretty quickly, and it led to Mikey and Draken teaming up on Izuna. And then Mochi. Mochi fights against Jifuyu again. Mochi's hand is still broken. So when he goes in for I'm going for a punch, Jifuyu intentionally dodge, grab Mochi's hand, and just squeeze on his hand as hard as physically possible. So Mochi being taking advantage of stuff like this, will end up losing, plus Takemichi's friends can jump in and proceed to help fight against Mochi. And off-screen Jifuyu has also done some boxing, so even if it's Takemichi's friends probably can't do much against Mochi, Jifuyu still can. Then Inupi vs. Koko. They both do the turn with Takemichi, as he does both admit they're pretty weak. So when it comes to Koko vs. Inupi is taking Takemichi's boxing to heart over and over again. Because he knows Takemichi's new leader, he has to pledge his loyalty to him as basically as much as possible. With that actually leads to Inupi showing off superior boxing skills and allowing him to beat Koko without really much effort. Koko lost very quickly. His ability and speed meant nothing to Inupi. But in the Haitani brothers versus Angry and Hakai. Thing is though, Angry, even if he hasn't done some boxing, cool, doesn't matter, he's still strong. As I said before, Hakai showed recently, he surpassed the majority of the captains of Tomon. Only one Tomon who may be above Hakai still, Mikey, Draken, Takemichi. Maybe Baji if you want to glaze for positional power. When it comes to Haitani brothers trying to attack Hakai, there are things that kind of just grappling and holding on to them. Hakai physically will literally just lift them up and slam them on their necks. So if the Haitani brothers try to get a hold of Hakai, they lose. If they get too close, they lose. Only thing they have is that baton. Even then, I'm pretty sure they use that on Angry. So they lose regardless. Haitani brothers can't do much for they can't do much against Hakai in general, which actually singles out one brother to fight Angry. One brother versus Angry ends in Angry's win. So. Takemichi, his main opponent right now is Kaku. Kaku looked up Takemichi as a kid. It's Takemichi is basically the strongest kid around. But when Kaku ended up trying to throw a punch at Takemichi, how do I phrase this? When Kaku tried to go in for a singular punch against Takemichi, he basically grabbed and then slammed on his back and basically got wailed on by Takemichi with one hand. With one hand, Takemichi basically just utterly destroying Kaku. With no effort, Kaku's being eviscerated by Takemichi. And then Mucho is still against Tomon at this point. He's on Tenjiku's side, except for well, not Sanzu, because he was slammed on his back on concrete by Takemichi, who was kind of pissed off. So Sanzu's either in the hospital or refusing to fight. But Mucho here has to fight against Inupi. Inupi had already beaten Koko. So that's basically a full-on fight between Mucho and Mucho and Inupi. But a lot of members of Tomon are available for this fight, so even if Inupi's going to lose, Hakai can jump in, Angry can jump in, Takemichi can jump in. His fight is over. His fight was with Kaku. So, simply put, Mucho loses horribly again to anyone. And at this point, I see Izuna already being defeated. So yeah. You guys may want to think that like Takemichi's next fight is against fucking Kisaki. Yeah, that's not really a fight. Kisaki can pull a gun all he wants. Takemichi will punch so fast, Kisaki will not have time to pull the trigger. So even if Kisaki still has the gun, does not matter. Give him any weapon you want, he is too slow to get it off against Takemichi. So no matter what, Kisaki loses to Takemichi. And very quickly at that. So Kisaki loses to Takemichi, and he doesn't get hit by a truck. Actually, honestly, I want him dead. So let's say he gets beaten. Takemichi would end up, focusing on Izuna now, wondering, what to do with him. And Kisaki gets that opportunity to run. Got hit by a cop car. He's dead. So yeah. He ends the Zenjuku arc right here with a few not revelations, but with some importance being that Izuna survived. Izuna survived. That's a good thing about this arc. So yeah. Pause real quick. Now, at the end of this conflict, Izuna, Kaku, basically anyone who goes to jail or juvie does, but Izuna goes to like prison because he's old enough, and then so's Mucho. Takemichi goes to juvie, but not for long. He kind of was pretty easily able to plead self-defense, and it worked. So he was like held in juvie for a bit till his trial, then he's out. So yeah. Everyone's aware of Takemichi, not everyone, but Mikey, Draken, Chifuyu, all them, they're aware of Takemichi being a time leaper. And they're honestly not too surprised. It made sense. Takemichi, before he goes back to the future permanently, but she asked Hina to, like, marry him. And Hina accepts. Gladly, actually. Takemichi then returns to the future, realizing then that Naoto's actually alive this time around. And he ends up basically being at a wedding. It's not his own, it's Pachin and like an unknown random girl. But at the wedding, he does see Chifuyu and Draken, but still no Mikey. I can see the future honestly being pretty much the exact same, but Bonten is being led by Izuna and not Takemichi, Izuna and Mikey. I almost said Takemichi. Yeah. That's wondering why Mikey is still leader of Bonten. Honestly, it's the fact that Izuna got in his head that Takemichi stole the thunder of Tomon from Mikey. Izuna is not over being beaten by Mikey. He is not. So basically, to make Mikey kind of a pawn, along with Sanzu, they're basically telling Mikey, like, you never really were the leader of Tomon. It was all Takemichi. People rallied to his strength. He's having to serve under you, so they rallied to you too. If you weren't there, they would have been led by Takemichi or Draken. You were never the true head of Tomon once Takemichi joined. Like, he's even the one who made them stronger, not you. There's truth in their statements, but it still manipulated Tomon. And then later on, it does end up to like Takemichi and Kazuhisa looking to find Mikey, all that. But yeah. Pause real quick. But we move on to Takemichi still fighting Mikey, all that. I'm going to that part. That's more important right now. As when Mikey actually shoot Takemichi over and over again. Actually, no, I'm going to go for that to Sanzu trying to tell Takemichi leave Mikey alone. When Sanzu tries to tell Takemichi you can leave Mikey alone, Takemichi will actually point out how Sanzu uses his katana and the sheath as a cane. And he's like, yeah, what about it? He's like, so, did I break your back when I threw you? Because Sanzu's a bit nervous, like, maybe. But Sanzu's gonna grab it again and slammed right on his spine one more time. And for sure, his back is shattered. Takemichi proceeds to go upstairs to find Mikey. And Mikey and him actually end up fighting. Mikey ends up losing, so he shoots Takemichi. And so when Takemichi would save Mikey, Takemichi doesn't even look injured. He just looks like he's sad, like he wants to save Mikey still. He's up still shaking hands, kind of, with Mikey, and they go back to the future, or past, I guess. So they're to the past now. Yay. Pause real quick. Alright, at this point, Takemichi in the past is 19. He's no longer in high school. He is actually, in fact, a pro boxer. Well, kind of pro. Due to his relations and like his trial being pretty popular, it's kind of hard to actually get him into, like, he's able to go and tournaments, so it's kind of hard. So he actually does do a lot of underground circuit training, or circuit fights, but he still does end up getting a lot of money from his parents regardless. So he doesn't really need a job to begin with. Shafiq is pretty surprised, and Mikey would acknowledge Takemichi's arrival back to the past. And then Takemichi had to learn about the three deities, all that. Takemichi goes to see Hina, and when he goes to see Hina, he actually tells her everything. And she simply just says, it was 2 years ago, it was kind of hard for her to love Takemichi. Not love, but hard for her to be with him, and he was simply someone going through too much. And she would tell Takemichi how she wants to be together with him in every way. And she leads to a encounter I can't say on YouTube, but it basically leads to Takemichi and Hina being as in love as possible at the end of it. Takemichi now has a amp basically being intercourse and love. Takemichi kind of refuses to involve anyone else other than Chifuyu, so... Yeah. Roji goes to see Draken, and as him and Draken are on a ride, Toronto would ride by, throwing Inupi at them. Takemichi within immediately just reach out, grab an Inupi, and the bike motorcycle just pulls over. I mean, it's supposed to Toronto that someone reacted that fast. And so Toronto would basically he doesn't know who Takemichi is. At the end of Jinjiku, Takemichi dropped off the face of the earth. No one knows who he is anymore. Except for, those who have fought him and his friends. Yeah, Toronto's not aware of who Takemichi is. No one really cares about, no one in the new generation cares about who Takemichi is. So eventually when Toronto is, and then the Draken will never be on his side, Draken says, he retired, Toronto goes to punch Draken in the face. But Takemichi would hold his hand in the way, grabbing Toronto's fist. Toronto would say, oh, you're a big guy, but you're nothing to me. I'm bigger. And Takemichi just says, I fought bigger. As he thinks of Toronto as the bear, but the bear is 9 feet tall. Toronto is 7 foot. And he basically would do the bear strike straight into Toronto's chest. Toronto fell to the chest, fell to his knees, so just throwing just blood pooling from his mouth. He wasn't dead, but his ribs are broken. Toronto slumped over. Eventually, we were met by more and more of the 3 deities, and a few dozen members of Toronto's crew arriving. It was basically Senju, Waka, Benkei, Keizo. Keizo, whatever. Benkei is Keizo. I messed up the name. I'm dumb. I'm sorry. Well, hold up real quick. Alright, so the 10 deities arrive. Senju, Akashi, Benkei, Waka, they all arrive as Brahmin. And then we have Toronto's crew that has, pretty sure it's just Madarame and Kakucho. Then Mikey has anyone else who's important, including Izuna as well. You guys are wondering, why wasn't Kakucho with them? He ended up making a bad bet, lost the fight, and now he has to serve Toronto. Oh, Toronto also has the Hightown brothers too, I think. So yeah. Now Toronto will eventually get to his feet, holding his chest, and his ribs are broken. Not all of them, but two or three of them are shattered. And eventually he does lead to basically not an all-out fight, but a lot of members of Toronto's crew to attack Takemichi and Dragon. And then Brahmin tries to intervene, only for almost instantaneously Takemichi to knock them all down one by one. He doesn't really too phased by this at all. But when Mikey arrives, he looks at Mikey and he just tells him, I'm gonna kill you. But she does surprise Mikey and Draken. And Draken actually pulls Takemichi to the side once everyone leaves, like, no, what went wrong with you and Mikey in the future? And maybe she would have like a comedic, angry look saying, that bastard shot me 6 times. I want him dead. 6 times. In my glorious body. I look good. He shot me 6 times. He ruined it. He needs to be in a body bag. By the end of this month, he's going to be in a body bag. If he isn't, you are. Or Sanzu. One of you three is going to be dead. So, yeah. By the way, if you guys are wondering why Mikey is still like the head of the Kanto Manji gang, it's the fact that he felt like he was tracking down Draken on top of still being manipulated by Izuna earlier on. He basically thought he was dragging down everyone because he couldn't be as strong as Takemichi. So, yeah. And Senju still invite Takemichi to join Brian. And he agrees, so, yeah. But also, when it comes down to him seeing Senju as like an actual schoolgirl, he immediately jumps away, saying, this doesn't look right. When you ask why, Senju says, I am almost 20 hanging out with a 16-year-old. That's not a good look for any of us. Then you have to realize that she can't hang out with her during the day. She has to, like, dress not like a schoolgirl for her and Takemichi to be friends. That's a very weird thing. So, yeah. And here's where Takemichi does actually unlock the foresight ability. So, yeah. Now, we do actually get a flashback of Draken telling about how, like, what happened with fighting against Mikey, how everyone had lost to him. It turns out the one who actually put up the best fight against Mikey was not Draken, not Mitsuya, not Shifuyu, not Peion, not Pachin, none of them. Not even Baji. It was Hakai. I mean, she was surprised he thought about Hakai's appearance. He's like, Hakai looked a little bit different, like long hair and all that. And Draken says, yeah, his hair covers up the scars Mikey gave him in that fight. As Hakai has a giant scar kind of going on the side of his head, like, compared to like the protagonist of Mafia 3. What's his name? Hold up. I have my computer open. Mafia 3 protag. Lincoln Clay. Hakai has the same 3 scars on the side of his head as Lincoln. And they are from Mikey. Pretty the scar is basically like it's like just one line down the right side of his head. Yeah, Mikey basically gave that to Hakai, and it turns out that Hakai basically continued boxing, but he doesn't go the same route as Takemichi. But yeah, Hakai put up the best fight against Mikey. In fact, he almost had actually beaten him because Mikey was exhausted, but yeah. Mikey's dark impulses reign superior. Yeah, then eventually Senju would announce the Battle of the 3 Deities at the Brahmin base. And when he comes up to her, she knows how old Takemichi is, so he doesn't invite him out on a date. She just says, I need adult supervision on the fair. He's like, alright, got it, supervision, done. So he goes to hang out with Senju. He just tells Tina because he does view this kind of weird of like, yeah, one of my friends is 16, I'm giving her adult supervision around this thing. So, yeah. So yeah. Well, amusement park not fair, but yeah. But even people catch word of like Toronto, like not Toronto, but his crew making a move on Takemichi. The thing is, Draken doesn't go towards Takemichi, he just calls him. Or doesn't even say he just calls him. He's like, Hamagaki, Toronto's crew, all that. Yeah. From this one, when it comes down to who gets shot, it is not Draken, it is Takemichi. The thing is, though, he is shot once out of the 3 bullets fired. And immediately, once the guys realize that, they missed, if you shot, you're wondering how. And there's Takemichi has Senju in his hand now. Senju is, being clutched by, come on, take a briefcase. They realize Takemichi says to grab Senju, lift her up, and dodge with her proficiently 2 times. The first shot was just him being unprepared. He puts Senju down, rubbing his shoulder. He just told her, "Call an ambulance. This is going to bleed a lot." The guy tries to get ready to fire more shots, but within blink of an eye, Takemichi was in front of him, grabbed him, and basically tilted the gun at him, making him shoot himself in the shoulder. And then with one quick punch to the chest, kind of just shattered all of his ribs. Other two guys jumped back, trying to grab Swiss Army knives, but they both grabbed the side of their head and slammed into each other, which does knock them both out. So Senju ends up calling Mikey, not Mikey, but calling Draken, basically everyone, but also calling the ambulance as well. So once everyone had arrived, Takemichi's basically being patched up, and he's like, "I'm going to the hospital, just send me on my way." And the ambulance agrees. But this does lead to a conflict between the three deities' crews. But Takemichi, instead of being Senju at the front of ramen, it's him. And Senju already knows Takemichi has a grudge with Mikey, and that he's probably the only one right now who can beat Mikey. So with this, it basically results in Brahman's top fighters confronting Toronto first. But as the fight begins, it seems that South is in the lead just because of his physical power. But Draken would jump in, and they punch, and she sends South flying back. Now it's South versus Draken, and Draken showing off boxing proficiency. But also just basic martial arts skill as well, as he trained with Mikey's grandfather. And eventually, I would say in the end of it, it does result in Takemichi and Mikey fighting each other. So the Mikey fight, Mikey shows off he actually been training in more martial arts than just one. To make the story interesting, Takemichi can't just slam everyone. It needs to be a good fight. Mikey shows off the ability to, he uses Taekwondo, but also boxing. And he's pretty damn good at it too. But also Taekwondo proficiency is basically all around. He can use his hands, his feet, and his hands again. So this one, when it comes to Takemichi versus Mikey, it's a pretty harsh fight. Even if Isa's jumping in, it's because he had already beaten a Kakucho who was not loyal to him anymore. Actually, he was. You didn't have a choice because he made a deal. But Takemichi's being jumped by Mikey and Izuna, who are both much stronger. Izuna got stronger in jail or prison, and then Mikey got stronger by natural training. I would say by the time it goes on to the end of the conflict, Takemichi actually he had gotten defeated. But the thing is, though, is everyone had watched their fight. Toronto had already been beaten by Draken, but everyone had watched Takemichi, Mikey, and Izuna's fight. It was one that no one could really believe. They didn't believe whose people could be this strong. Even if Izuna had used, if Mikey did use dark impulses, he still couldn't kill Takemichi. He couldn't dream of it. No one can kill Takemichi. No human can kill Takemichi. But still, it was a harsh fight. Michi would wake up in the hospital though, and she is told that Mikey and Kokoko was there. He tells Takemichi that Mikey and Izuna are in a hospital of their own, but Takemichi's the one who's worse for wear, as they focus a lot on hurting his already injured foot. But Takemichi just note that his foot is definitely, he didn't realize in the future as he was focused on Mikey more often than not, but his foot's still gonna messed up when he had messed with the motorcycle of Kisaki and Hanma. Being that, he has a slight limp. They may focus on that, and actually stalled his movement. And he kind of laughs, saying he never realized he had a weakness, as he never really focused on it until now. And the fact that he couldn't move as freely as they could. And Draken isn't dead, so no one's really mad at him. So. But now Takemichi needs to form his Kanto Manji gang. Or Tokyo Manji gang, I guess. Pause. Alright, so since Takemichi isn't really in the hospital he was, but not for long, he already decides to, crush Tokyo Manji gang. And he's gonna get help. But he actually goes up to be the one recruiting everyone. And so he knows who he wants. He knows who's strong, and he knows who can hurt Mikey. So Takemichi's Tokyo Manji gang consists of him as the head, Draken as the vice captain, Shifuyu, Hakai, Inupi, Mizo middle being Yamamoto, Yamagishi, Suzuki, and Arkun, Mitsuya, Senju, Pachin, and Peion, Kazutora, because he did a whole different crime to get arrested because he thought he needed to atone. It wasn't really a long sentence, so he's out. Baji, who was alive, And then Smiley, angry, Takemichi personally recruited Taiju, who himself actually began picking up a whole new workout regimen because of this being in another alternate timeline once more. So, yeah. So that is the Takemichi gang. So for this one, basically to make everyone distinctive, Dragon has his usual haircut. Jifuyu does have his usual haircut as well, but also I would say he makes it all black. Guy keeps his long hair, but also Mitsuya and him end up matching. But Mitsuya would basically style his hair to have like a small dragon design in his hair, which does kind of work. The Mizo Middle all have basically some pretty good muscle definition, and the fact that they're basically not comparable to captains, but a majority of the canonical vice captains for Tomon would lose to this group. So, they can pretty easily handle, like, I'd say characters maybe like Baji would probably be the one who beat them even if they jumped him, but the rest of the captains probably not. Maybe like Mucho. But yeah. But now they end up going on to fight against the Tokyo Manchi gang. Not Tokyo, Kanto Manchi gang. So, yeah. And it's honestly just a lot of like people like preparation for like everyone like having some conditioning to get in good shape, all of that. And the thing is, for this one, Mikey's actually scared. Like close to Izuna. In fact, everyone who knows how strong Takemichi is utterly terrified. So they know he's strong, and Mikey already overheard Takemichi say he wants Mikey dead. So he knows his future self did something to fuck Takemichi over. So it still ends up being like a 50 versus 100 fight, just lackeys plus Takemichi's friends. But because Takemichi as the head, and simply just tells Mikey, he's gonna kill him. One fight begins, Takemichi will charge Mikey, and Mikey and him will kind of equal out their speed. They end up clashing fists, or foot versus hand, and it basically ends up sending everyone apart. Takemichi's actually seen foresight of, how many Mikey are in a fight. His foresight being much better as he knows how to train, so he trained his foresight. That's what his condition was training his foresight. So him and Mikey fight, and Izuna tries to jump in, only to be intercepted by, I would go, Draken. The Draken and Izuna end up fighting together, and they basically end up having a pretty close fight. I would say he still ends up, I would say in Izuna's favor this time around, but Kaku would probably end up siding with Takemichi overall, end up beating him. Kaku having a change of heart, but end up basically throwing like a hammock out of nowhere, and it hits Izuna right in the side of the head and knocking him out. Izuna would have tanked it if he was at full power, but Draken wore him down to the point where he's like barely at like a fraction of his power. He's barely standing, but Kaku kind of finished it off. Oh, what else? Shit. I should remember a lot of these fights by heart. What's the next fight? I remember one of them is against, we do see Inupi basically proceed to just completely just dog a majority of Kanto Manchi gang. And he does so even more efficiently than canon, but he also would do it with the Mizo Middle by his side. They're kind of dogging anyone who's in their way. But when I think about them being strong, I get like that one, I remember that one scene where Onizuka, is shirtless and would tie like a headband around his head and use the flashlight, all that. I picture Mizo Middle as like that. So it's kind of just funny to me. Alright. Now, Akun and Shifuyu team up and they charge against Shion and Mochi. Mochi fights Shifuyu, he's like, oh yeah, last time you got your captain to help. But the thing is, when Mochi took a swing at Shifuyu would not go in for a boxing attack, she'd actually go in for I don't really name the attack in general. She would literally just duck and kick out one of Mochi's legs. And as Mochi falls back, Fuyu would duck his elbow and fall back with his elbow right into Mochi's nose. But I'm British for that, I'm sorry. I was like right elbow into Mochi's nose. Mochi tried to get up, only for Fuyu to mount him and proceed to basically just punch his face in it. Just punch his face in the head. That ends the fight for them. And then for Akun versus Madarame, Akun literally just one-tapped him, saying him like just sprawled out, so just random fodder. Then Inupi versus Coco. Coco already knows he will not win. He lost last time and he'll lose again. there's no choice other than to fight still. Because Koko does realize Inupi is not going to stop attacking him, so this will lead to Koko losing to Inupi once more, even if he tried to avoid him at all costs. And then Mitsuya fights the Hatani brothers, but this leads to Hakai telling Mitsuya he can handle them both on his own. Now, Mitsuya doesn't believe this, but he does actually, but he would simply just tell, Hakai, we're brothers in arms, so let's see what's stronger, blood or, heart. Because, it wasn't great, but I tried. So, yeah. So Hakai and Hakai and Mitsuya jump like Tiny Brothers, but the thing is, Hakai literally one-tapped one of the brothers, and that was it. They literally just one punch, and that was the end of the fight. And then Mitsuya can do the same thing to the other brother. Senju has to fight against Senju has to fight against Sanzu. But the thing is, after the fight, we see an unexpected arrival. That being Taiju. Yes, he's on their side, but he arrived late. Takemichi had a hunch about something, and that hunch being that someone from Tomon was still a time leaper. And that's how Mikey kept being corrupted. Someone wanted him corrupted. This Takemichi's smarter, so I don't think it's impossible for him to get to that conclusion. And he has two theories. It's either Izuna or it's Sanzu. After hearing Senju's story with Sanzu, he knows it is Sanzu. So Taiju's honestly just told, wait to find Sanzu weakened or in the open, and you take him. So after Senju and Sanzu fight, even if Senju were to lose, Sanzu will still be tired. So Taiju's basically entire job is to ambush Sanzu and kill him. Takemichi wants him dead. He wants a lot of people dead if they piss him off. And then Senju realizes that Taiju was actually hiding and waiting for this moment. He should ask him, what are you going to do to him? As Buddha says, I'm going to end the start of the Council Manchi gang like boss ordered. And in front of everyone, Taiju basically snapped Sanzu's neck. And really, Mikey's honestly just completely surprised, asking, no one here's supposed to die. We have Mikey, put him down, so he just says, he's the other time leaper. And Mikey immediately realized, each time Mikey came out fucked up, it's because of Sanzu. Mikey started Sanzu's liking of Mikey, but in a different way. So Mikey immediately kind of gave up, but Takemichi's still kind of pissed, so he says, get up and fight. I'm still mad you shot me 6 times, plus you hurt my foot, so I'm mad. But now it's more like a friendly fight than anything else for Mikey and Takemichi. Everyone else can just do their own thing. It doesn't matter to them. Benkei. He starts to fight Inupi, but Hakai still being cool and really just jump in and begin fighting Benkei. And honestly, it's not a fair fight. Benkei's being utterly assaulted. It is not a close fight. Hakai at this point, due to the fact that he looks up to Takemichi like a brother figure, and also trying to be as strong as Takemichi is, if I were to scale him, I'd probably say he's above Draken at this point, and Draken at this point is above any version of Mikey. He's above, one character above Draken at this point in the story would probably be this version of Takemichi and Mikey and Izuna. But now, also Hakai. Hakai has reached the upper echelon of the series. He just hasn't really been in combat for years, so now he's conditioned up, he's good. So Hakai one-shot Benkei. And then Waka had to fight Senju again, but how do I put this? When Waka tries to jump in to fight Hakai for Benkei, who had one shot, Koko would jump in as well with Inupi, who was the original target of Benkei, but didn't work out in Benkei's favor. So Inupi and Koko end up double-teaming Waka, and Inupi stronger than Cannon, so it ends up in Waka being pretty quickly defeated. Hama ends up confronting Kazutora, and Kazutora simply just says he has no time for this. They've been clashing until Kazutora kind of just says, you should have died with, you should have died with Kisaki. And the knife that Baji would use to stab himself, Kazutora has that knife and would stab Hanma in the stomach. So Hanma is impaled. So with this, it basically leads to the final fight between Takemichi and Mikey that's still going on, Everyone, like those who can tell some people are, they can tell it's a friendly fight. But it ends up with all like the original core members of Toman confronting Mikey, demanding a rematch. Even Hakai is here demanding the rematch because he was also there. In fact, he was the one who got closest to beating Mikey, as I said before. Mikey obliges, fighting everyone. Even with dark impulses, it's a hard fight. Pause real quick. Now, Mikey even does realize that Hakai is definitely strongest here of old Toman. But then he issues blocking a punch from Hakai, only for Hakai to continue carrying the flow of the punch, and sends Mikey into the ground full force. Pause. Sorry about that. So with Mikey at the ground coughing a lot, as he's trying to get back up, immediately Hakai just says, "This is payback," as he would punch Mikey's head right into the ground one more time, knocking him out. So yeah, so Mikey loses to Hakai. Not because Hakai is stronger, it's like that Mikey's tired. That's kind of just it. Like Mikey would have beaten like this version of Hakai, but it would have been a harder fight. So, eh. But in the future, eventually Takemichi and Mikey would shake hands and return to the future, but they end up resetting time entirely. Pause for much. So eventually, it does end with Takemichi and Mikey resetting time. As they reset it, they go back to being to their childhood. But now Takemichi would help Mikey start the actual good Takemichi gang, and it would end in the story of Takemichi and Hina being married. And the fact that they're older, I think they'd have at least one kid of their own at their wedding. So yeah, plus also Emma's alive, so we have the whole Draken thing as well. Yeah. And the wedding's also... Takemichi is rich as shit. Plus Kai probably is as well from boxing on his own. So, luxurious wedding, kids, etc. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe for more. Adios.